Hello and welcome back to the third episode of the Since I Was Young podcast. Joining you today, as always, is myself, Ewan, and Alan. Alan, how you doing, my friend? You all good?
Mate, I'm good. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, like I said to you beforehand, it's been just another day in lockdown, but hey ho, was it as long as we've got the podcast, then all is good, my man. All is good.
The end is in sight.
Oh, don't even. Anyhow, our main topic today is going to be a protest that is starting to catch on a bit of speed. I'm sure that all Hearts fans will no doubt know that we were confirmed as official champions of the championship on Saturday after Raith Rovers and Dundee dropped their points, and we were officially confirmed as champions. I don't know about you, Alan, but it was one of the most mediocre days of my life. Even though we actually won a league, it was one of the most mediocre days of my life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I felt the same way. It was one of those I didn't even know. Like, I knew that obviously Raith and Dundee had to drop points, but I didn't
Yeah,
know like if it was enough. And it's just it was bizarre. But I said it on Twitter myself. I'm just glad the season's almost over. We can forget it ever happened.
absolutely. You and all the rest of the Hearts fans as well, my man. But yeah, we will be back in the top flight next season where we most certainly belong. So, like you just said, Alan, it is a season to kind of forget. But nonetheless, we've accomplished it and that's it all done. But on that note, like I said beforehand, this protest that are starting to catch speed, which is being known as Leave It on the Stand. Now, basically, what that is in reference to is for the Hearts said players to was it at the boycott, lifting the trophy when it is presented to us, almost as if it's sort of a protest in itself to the SFA from our let's say very was it a questionable relegation from the top flight last season, with the season cut short due to COVID. We'll discuss our thoughts on that, Alan, in a wee second. But as always, guys, this is a Heart of Midlothian podcast for all things Hearts, for the latest news, topics, and debates. If you would like to get involved, please do. We'd love to hear all your comments on this particular subject as well. You can do so in the comments of the video as well. Alternatively, you can get in touch with us via our Twitter page, which should be on screen, but will also be in the description as well. Twitter.com/SIWY pod. And also, alternatively, as well, you can get in touch with Alan on his Twitter account as well. And through my personal YouTube page, what Ewan's doing. All links will be in the description. So, on to this was a protest that is starting to gather speed, Alan. It's a simple was it the question? Do you think we should get the players to the boycott lifting the championship trophy? Aye or no?
I've kind of gone back and forward on it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think it's it's one of these things that it's quite petty, but I love it. I love
yeah,
the thought of it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the same with like not buying pay-per-view for the away teams that Hearts have played against this season because not wanting to give them money.
yeah,
It's petty, but I can also equally I can understand why. And I mean, fans fans are basically saying the club should try and get the fans back on side by listening to them and doing this.
mm,
But the other side of it, I'm like, there's going to be some Hearts players that have never lifted a trophy before, and would you take that away from them? I don't know. And I think, like, without going into too much detail, because I don't want to be ranting about it, but
no,
trophy celebrations would be muted anyway
yeah,
because there's no fans in the stadium. And even if there was fans in the stadium, the way that we played this season, it's like I said at the start, you just kind of want the season to be done with. But in short, do I think they should lift the trophy? I actually put it on my Twitter. I said I've settled on it being just a half-arsed trophy lift. I basically said I'd rather the players take their medals, lift the trophy in a half-arsed way to kind of highlight how half-arsed this season it's really been, to be honest.
Well, exactly. And yeah,
That would be
just like that. Aye, done. Okay, see you. Bye. Aye.
exactly.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of different factors compared to when we were last in the championship back in 2014, because obviously back then we came from the brink of us not being around anymore, and obviously the championship at that point back in 2014 was obviously a tiny bit more competitive, I would say, like, because you had the likes of us, you had Rangers, you had Hibs in there, and we kind of had a point to prove, I think, in like sort of that time. And for now, like you've just said yourself as well, Alan, like, it's kind of been, a very, like, was it a campaign? I'm sure a lot of the Hearts fans would agree that, we should have had this wrapped up like weeks ago. But in relation to the actual boycott itself, you're completely right. It is a bit like, petty, but at the same time, just to like, do it, I wouldn't be like against it. In general, I don't like the SFA at all. But that could be a whole new was it at the podcast that yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, like it's, I think from our point of view, it's to, like, if it's going to be directed at the SFA, and quite rightly so, I think, the kind of mindset that was going with is to was it for to give, but don't forget it. And I think that's something that we can take forward when we do go back into the top flight. I mean, just to go on to another point, when John Suter was actually asked about the winning the championship when it was the confirmed, his statement was quite big, but I'll just read a quote that kind of sums up what we were chatting about there, Alan. He said, it would be worth celebrating when we've actually got something worth celebrating, i.e. the championship is none at all. So I think he's kind of said what every Hearts fan feels, that was it at the right now. And yeah, we should actually celebrate something when we've got something actually worth to celebrate. But again, just to touch back on what you said there, I mean, a lot of the players, this will be their first sort of chance to get their hands on a trophy, whether it be the championship or not. I mean, should Hearts as a club deny that chance to give like sort of the players that have not won anything yet?
No, I mean, to be honest, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, the decision is probably going to fall with the players and the management. I think, Anne Budge and her infinite wisdom, she'll want to try and build bridges, I think, with the SPFL and SFA and all that, because obviously everything that happened over the last 12, 13 months has been messy in that regard. The whole court case and everything. And I can understand, like you're saying there, I can understand both sides of it. I personally think the players will lift the trophy because I just think it's protocol, it's what you do. But if they didn't, if they just picked up their medals and just said thanks very much and walked back down the tunnel and celebrate in the dressing room in private, fair enough. I think I saw another comment about it where it was basically saying, don't give the SPFL and the SFA the pictures of Hearts celebrating a championship trophy, essentially, because it's the minimum expectation for Hearts this season was to get out of the championship, and we've done that. So when Suter's saying about it's not really something worth celebrating, I kind of agree with him, because we should be winning that trophy anyway. Like, we should have done it a lot more convincingly than we have. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment, as I say, but personally, I think when the trophy's presented to them, I think they'll just take it and just say, thanks very much. Like, it's part of the end of season protocols. You win a trophy, you get it presented to you, you lift it up, and you're away. That's the way I see it anyway. But I wouldn't complain if they didn't lift it. To be fair, I think it would be a strong message to send.
Absolutely, Alan. I mean, like we've said before, like it is a very a petty thing to do, but at the same time, it's not, because we've got every sort of right to income. Was it at the Palace and what happened? Was it when the season was cut short due to COVID? Saying that though, just to kind of veer off of the main subject just now, do you genuinely think that? I mean, we all know that if it was just based on how we actually had played at the end of last season, I think every fan would agree that Hearts absolutely 100% deserved to go down, because we played shocking all of that season. In regards to how it was done and the process that the SFA took, because I'm going to link this to another story that only came out this morning, which I briefly touched it on with you earlier on. Do you think that the SFA were right to do what they did in terms of cutting the league short, even though almost every league in the world managed to actually go back to complete their seasons? Or do you think it was more important to get all of the prize, the money to the clubs in terms of a financial aspect?
I think it's a difficult one to kind of go into, but I think my view is that they did what they almost jumped at it too early and went, right, we have to finish this, we have to close this down, like the season can't finish.
Yeah.
Whereas, I know obviously the benefit of looking back now at the way things have unfolded makes it easier to talk about it, but
yeah,
if they waited a little bit longer, they could have finished the season.
Oh yeah,
there was a window there.
Yeah.
There was a window there to finish the season, but they didn't know that at the time. They acted a bit too quickly, I think. We were bottom of the league deservedly, because the way we played last season was embarrassing.
Yeah, that
for lots of different reasons. It's one of these things, and the debate will always be there, is if the season had been finished, had been allowed to finish, would we have made up enough points to survive? That's kind of where the debate comes in. I don't know whether we would have. I think we would have given it a hell of a stab at it, but there's just something about last season that I just think, even if we had a full season, I think we would have gone down anyway, regardless of whether it was Stendhal or Levine or whoever was in charge. But yeah, they acted, I think, a bit too early, and it's all the court stuff and all that. Like, Hearts were doing that because they had to. They had to be seen to be fighting against it, going, right, this morally is not the right thing to do. But there was nothing illegal about it, unfortunately.
No, of course not. No. But that kind of brings me on to the link in my point that I was about to actually make, because obviously, when we were going through the courts, etc. Obviously, one of the routes that Anne Budge was trying to actually take was a league construction reconfiguration, and why I mentioned that is that it only just came out earlier on that they are going to have a second stab at it. How fucking convenient that they try, literally after Hearts have confirmed as champions, 3 days after, and they're already trying to do this again. And it's just to sort of put a bit of context on it. One of the main things that they want to actually do this is to get in, and I had quote, old firm Ed Colts, which basically means the Rangers and Celtic was it at the B teams. Obviously, if that were to happen, obviously, any sort of was it the cash that was generated would go to them as the clubs, and like, you know, I mean, there's not a lot to kind of go through it. What they're talking about is what the new system that they are going to try and plan is a 12-12-10-10 league. I just find it highly convenient that they're doing this now, literally 3 days after we've won the league.
I know. It just stinks, really. Like, I mean, they've been speaking about trying to get Celtic and Rangers reserve teams in for years, and I just think it's ridiculous. I'm like, I think what their hope is that they think that the teams in the lower leagues will vote them in because they'll say, "Oh, that's money for us," getting to play against Celtic and Rangers reserves. But it's just to satisfy the old firm. Let's be honest. They got rid of the reserve league a few years ago now, so that's why a lot of clubs are loaning out all their young players. So why then allow Celtic and Rangers to have reserve teams that can then play in a competitive league? I just find it totally ridiculous. And I mean, I do think league reconstruction will happen in Scotland at some point. I think someone will eventually see sense and realise it's a good thing. But I just think the Anvod's proposal, and I mean, I'm saying this as a Hearts fan, the Anvod's proposal that she put out all those months ago, it made sense. It was a sensible way to do it at the time. And if it had had a longer time to maybe settle and people had time to understand it, it might have gone through. But it's just the SFA, SPFL, just being Celtic and Rangers. It's a whole love-in, and it just frustrates me so much. It's like they've suggested it, so
because what I don't understand, because obviously, again, going back even longer when there was pretty serious talk about both Rangers and Celtic possibly going down and competing in the English leagues. Now, how that would make sense financially for the SFA and Scottish football in general, I don't get it. And now it just reeks of shite because, like you just said as well, that would be one of the main sort of factors for actually the getting in, like the reserve teams for Celtic and the Rangers. It just absolutely stinks. Absolutely stinks.
No, it does, and it's just the old firm being, bending over the SPFL and saying, yeah, we want this, so make it happen. And, all the, like you say, even the talk about going down to England and stuff, I would actually welcome that, to be honest. I don't think it will happen, but I would welcome that. But the SFA and the SPFL will basically say, nah, you're not going anywhere because you're the main marketing that we have. Because obviously the old firm games get more coverage than any other game in Scotland, unfortunately.
And if Celtic and Rangers were to actually leave that league, Neil Doncaster would not be able to fund that ridiculous fucking haircut that he gets every fucking year and all. And like, what is that? Like, what is that? It's literally just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just literally almost as if it's was it Ed Quift? Was it Ed the boycott? That's went like up, like, you know what I mean? He's a fucking donkey, honestly, he really is.
Oh, right. Somebody actually sent me a tweet the other day, and ever since that, I've looked at the picture. Like, I had no idea because it's not my genre thing at all. But somebody sent it, and they says Doncaster is Daddy Pig. Now, Peppa Pig. Now, Peppa Pig is not something that I've ever watched in my life for obvious reasons. It's a children's program, right? But if you Google a picture of Daddy Pig, right, he's got the little circular glasses on, and now I can't not see it. Now I can't not see it. Tell me about it.
That's a sad thing, mate. I have watched. Was it Ed the Peppa Pig? But again, that's a whole different story. And I know exactly who it is. Jesus Christ.
Thing, right? So now I can't unsee it. It's one of these images that's just burnt in my vision now.
Oh, and seriously? Fuck.
The context of the tweet, and I can read it to you now. It was related to the Leave It on the Stand. It says, #Leave It on the Stand, purely for the benefit of seeing that Daddy Pig prick not looking happy. That was my reaction. Was the same as you right now.
Mate. Oh, Jesus. That has made all those, was it court cases being dragged down to the championship all worth it? Jesus Christ. That's absolutely brilliant.
Just to wipe the smirk off his face. That's why I'd like to see us not.
Well, just to go like to move
Back to it.
swiftly on from that, just to go on to again, one of the points that we first made when we started. Obviously, we've been confirmed as champions now. Obviously, there's still things in general to be sorted out, at the club in general. Concerning Robbie, because I wrote this down, but I may as well was it throw it in there. Do you think in general that obviously it's kind of taken longer than expected, but as we've now been confirmed, do you think that this kind of takes the pressure off of Robbie, and do you think that he'll be in charge of next season when we go into the top flight?
I think it's a case of jobs done. I don't think it takes the pressure off, because I think there are a lot of Hearts fans that will never forgive him for the Brora result, for the Alloa result, the Betfred Cup as well. He was brought in to get us out the championship. So from the club's point of view, from Anne Budgie's point of view, from the chief executive's point of view, he's done that. So that's why he's safe for the time being. But I mean, I think I said it last time. It's about stability, and it's about the next step, and it's about how we prepare for the Premiership. And I think it's going to be very difficult for Robbie to get fans back behind him, to be honest. And I understand that, because the way we're playing football, let's be honest, if we go up to the Premier League with a similar squad, I mean, there will be changes, but even if we have different players, if we go up to the Premiership and play how we played for the majority of this season, we're not going to finish top 4, which I think is a realistic objective. And it has to be. But yeah, there are a large number of fans that Robbie's already finished, and every time there's a comment, every time there's a media post, it's all comments are all Robbie out and Budge out, and there's a lot that needs to change at the club, and I think that is what people think about more than Robbie at the moment. I think there's more problems than that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think just from a manager's perspective, like you've just said there, Alan, in the most torturous way, he has done what he was told to actually do, get us back into the top flight at the first time of asking. So where I sit with it, in the sense with Robbie, in the tiniest sense, I would give him the benefit of the actual doubt, because, he's done what he was set out to actually do. And I think, if I was Budge, I would give him maybe the first 5, 6, maybe 7 was at the games when we do start the new season, just see where we actually are. And I think if we're not at least sitting in the top 6, then I think action would have to be done. Because if we're only going to be sitting maybe in 7th or 8th was at place, then there's not really much point in us actually at being there, because our objective for every season is to be finishing at least 3rd or 4th, and on a good was at the campaign to maybe at some point challenge both Celtic and the Rangers. But if we're only going to be sitting mid table, then there's no point.
No, exactly. And I think as well, the budgets that Hearts have got, I think we've got the 3rd highest budget in the league, or Scotland. Obviously, we're not in the league. Like the 3rd or 4th biggest budget in the country, and a club like that, with the money that the fans put in, the money that Anne Budge puts in, the money that the benefactor, what's his name, James Anderson,
Yep, that's the one.
we're putting money into the club, and I think even the foundation of Hearts, you're putting that money in and you're going, well, what are we getting from that?
Well, exactly. Like, because just to touch on that, because again, it was a stat that when I listened to the Sports Sound podcast that you sent me, on that note, a big shout out to Corbett on the This Is My Story podcast as well. I think he explained it absolutely brilliantly. Just a point that he made as well, like you're talking about in terms of what Hearts have actually put in to the club. Ever since we started the foundation of Hearts, we've put in and around £60 million during that time. £60 million. And a scary fact, which you've probably heard yourself, Alan, we have brought in 97 players throughout every single transfer window since Anne Budge has came in. That is,
it's crazy.
I'll say that's outrageous. That's 14, was it, the players every transfer window. Like, I can understand it for any team. If you're going to bring 14 players in, that's an entire rebuild. But to bring in 14 players, I mean, I know it won't be exactly 14 players for every sort of window, but when you put it in that sort of context, that is ridiculous. Like,
it's mad. It's mad. It's crazy. And I think the thing is as well, though, you have to look at it and say, we've brought all those players in. How many of them have been a success? How many of them are still there? From when they were brought in. This is what I'm talking about, stability. And I mean, I've been a critic of Robbie in the way that we've played this season because it's not good enough. But there's part of me that goes, right, give them a summer, let like the Joe Savage, the recruitment guy, let them go out, let them find players and build it the way he wants to build it, because there does need to be an element of stability. And I think Anne Budge said that when she gave Robbie the job. She said, I want him to have 3 years. I want him to be here. I want it to work, because we've gone backwards since Budge has been there, and that's not good enough. Like you say, for the money we're putting in, it's mental.
No, exactly. Because I do put in was it like a small portion to the foundation of Hearts. I'm not sure like if you do yourself. Granted, I put in it like a very small like amount, but at the same time, like if you and me and every other Hearts fan are going to put in their hard-earned cash, especially for the times that we're in now, it's got to be put to the better use, because based on results, we've not just thinking about now, Alan. What can you say? Literally, one thing right now that we've obviously. I will be forever grateful for Anne Budge, because if it wasn't for her, you and me wouldn't be sat here right now talking about Hearts, this and that. So from that aspect, I will be forever grateful. In terms of the actual the club and what she's actually achieved, can you name me one thing that's been in terms of success on the park? Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've made it to a few the finals, but apart from that, what have we actually achieved that say, that was it 2016, 17, 18? That was a terrific season.
No, there's not really a lot, is there?
No.
To be honest, and I think it's like Anne Budge. I mean, this is a whole different topic of a whole different conversation, but Anne Budge herself said when she came in that she's not a football person, that she was in there to sort the business out.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, of course.
She brought in Craig Levine to oversee the football side of things. Now, whether you like Craig Levine or you don't, he's an intelligent guy, been around football for a long time, so he's the sort of person you'd probably want behind the scenes. But yeah, I think, as I say, we could sit here and have a whole conversation about Anne Budge in the last 5-6 years, but I mean, the main point of this is about securing a championship trophy and getting back up into the Premier League. And you just hope and pray and fingers crossed that we're never back in the championship ever again, because we've been put in it the last 2 times we've been in it. Obviously, the previous time was due to administration and a negative points system, and ended up relegated because we didn't have enough points that season to stay up, despite fighting to stay up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then last year, obviously demoted rather than relegated. So you kind of think, well, the last two times we've been in the Championship, we can say there have been excuses as to why we were there.
Yeah.
Now, if we end up back down again, there's no excuse other than we've not been good enough.
No. There would be no, was it at the going back, Alan? No, at the going back. But yeah, I think we've explained everything that we've had to explain. Like you said, if we talk any more about Ambudge, we'll probably be sat here until next week. So we'll leave it on that sort of note there. But to everyone watching, we would love to hear all of your comments. Do you think that the Hearts players should the boycott lifting the championship trophy? We have started the poll that we started on Monday, I think that was, Alan.
Yes.
Yes. And just to see if most Hearts fans agree. So can you tell us what the results are as now, Alan?
So I ran it for 24 hours because I knew that we were
Right.
going to sit down and do this. So it's actually just closed not that long ago. And there was 3 different categories. There was support it, indifferent, or lift it and move on. The overwhelming result, 65% support it, 21% lift it and move on, 13% indifferent. Now, I know Twitter is a very, very small sample of Hearts supporters, but that shows you that we're a petty bunch and we love it.
Oh, mate, we're a bunch of petty bastards, honestly. Real are, but I love it. I love it, though. I love it. But yeah, if you do have anything more to say on it, please comment down below. We would love to hear all your thoughts as well. And alternatively as well, you can go to our Twitter page. We want all the drama, all the goss, and also what you think specifically on this championship trophy boycott. Yeah, Alan, I think that's everything we've got to sort of say, unless there's anything you want to touch on as such.
No, not particularly. I think we've kind of gone around a few of the topics and in the conversations at the moment. So yeah, no, I think we've pretty much touched a lot of bases there.
Fantastic. So that means because it's a shorter podcast, there won't be a lot for me to edit. So happy days. I won't be up until 2 o'clock in the morning. So that is a plus for me. But yeah, as always, guys. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching the podcast, and to everyone as well who watched episode 2. Nearly at the 100 views mark. I know that might not mean a lot to some people, but considering that we've only just started out and we've only got a small portion of subscribers, guys, we really do appreciate it. So keep those views coming in, and if you do like this episode as well, please subscribe, hit that button, like this video, go across to our Twitter page as well, spread that drama. Honestly, we want to hear everything, guys. And also, again, you can get in touch with Alan as well through his personal Twitter as well. And you can get through with myself as well on my personal YouTube account what Ewan's doing, and enjoy some football videos as well. So yeah, I think that is all from us. As always, Alan, thank you very much. Always a pleasure, as always, sir.
Aye, and yourself, sir. It's nice to sit down and have a wee moan about all things Heart of Midlothian, isn't it?
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way, mate. Any other way. But as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye for now.